Hello, Magooshers. This is David Racine from the Magoosh IELTS blog. And today, I've arranged a nice little slideshow to answer a question that a lot of my students ask me. They ask me, David, what's a good IELTS score? And I always say to them, well, if you want to know what a good IELTS score is, don't look at me. The person who really has that answer is you. And sometimes my students look a little confused. Well, how can they know what a good IELTS score is? And when they look confused, I say, yes, you. So why do you hold the key to knowing what a good IELTS score is? It's because a good IELTS score depends on your personal goals. Different places have different IELTS requirements. So, for example, say that you're taking the IELTS to study abroad, to study on an English language campus. In that case, based on your situation, usually a good IELTS score is at least 6, but some campuses ask for a 6.5. That's also a pretty common IELTS requirement. And more is better, so a 6.5 or higher is a really good IELTS score for most universities. Now, you'll notice I said most universities. Suppose you're really ambitious, you really need that top school, you want to get into Oxford or Harvard or Cambridge or Princeton. Schools like that, well, very often they're going to ask for an IELTS score of 7. So then you need a 7 for a good score. And they might even ask for a 7.5. So you need a 7.5 for a good score. Or higher, because universities always look at whether or not you've exceeded the minimum. And the higher you get above that minimum IELTS score when you're applying to schools, the better your IELTS score truly is. But not everybody is taking the IELTS to go to university, right? Maybe some of you watching this are taking the IELTS to immigrate to an English-speaking country, and you're thinking, what about me? What's a good IELTS score for me? And again, that really depends on your immigration goals. To make a long story short, a good IELTS score for immigration can be anywhere between a 4 and a 7. And that's a pretty big range, isn't it? So you're wondering, well, what's a good IELTS score for me? Is it 4? Is it 7? Is it something in between? Well, again, there's some pretty simple rules here. It all comes down to, are you going to work a medical job? Are you going to work in healthcare as a doctor or a nurse? Or are you going to work any kind of job outside of healthcare? Now, if you're working outside of healthcare, a 4 is going to be just fine for you. That'll be a good IELTS score. In very rare cases, some jobs ask for a 5 or 6, but a 4 should be a pretty good IELTS score. But if you're working in healthcare, you need to be able to speak English and communicate very well if there's a medical emergency. So there you really want a 7 or higher. And that's, in fact, you'll be specifically asked for a 7 by a number of employers and immigration agencies. Most notably, the United Kingdom National Health Service. They want to see that 7 on the IELTS if you're going to be a nurse, if you're going to be a doctor, if you're going to work in healthcare. Now, the nice thing about immigration and immigrating for a job is this is very cut and dry. A good IELTS score doesn't necessarily need to be higher than a 7. Basically, most places only look at, did you meet the minimum score? If you met the minimum score, you're good. Something above the minimum score might appeal to an employer, but in the eyes of immigration offices themselves, the minimum score is a good score, and that's all you have to worry about. So let's look at one exception, though. There is one kind of job that you can be trying for, and the higher the score you get, the better it is. And that is teaching English. If you're a non-native English speaker and you want a job teaching English, typically you'll need an IELTS score of 8 to get that job. Some places will ask for an 8.5 or even a 9. And here, employers and immigration really will look at, did you get the highest score possible? So if the minimum score is 8, but you got a 9, That makes it much easier for you to get that job and for you to move to a country and teach English, even if you're not a native English speaker. So let's look at one more component of a good IELTS score, and this really depends on you. You need to ask yourself, does your real IELTS score reflect your true English ability? So you have your English brain, and if you want to see how your English ability in your mind should match up to the IELTS, go to Google and type in IELTS band descriptors. And that should bring up right away a description of the IELTS bands for speaking and writing. They don't, unfortunately, have published bands for reading and listening, but you can look at your speaking and writing ability, and if you read, say, a 6.5 IELTS band descriptor, and you think, well, that sounds like what I can do, your actual IELTS score when you take practice tests should also be a 6.5. And that's a good score. A score that correctly reflects your IELTS abilities is a good score. But sometimes you can get a bad score. Sometimes your real English ability matches up to the band descriptors, but your actual IELTS score is lower. And when that happens, what you really have to think about is test-specific skills and test strategy. So in that case, what you really need to do is boost your testing skills. Get comfortable with every question type in IELTS listening and reading, and make sure you understand the structure of the speaking tasks and the writing tasks, and focus on those IELTS-specific skills and not just language skills. And that way you can make sure you get a good score that reflects your abilities, and that you're able to aim for that good score that can get you into your dream university, immigrated to your dream country, landing your dream job. So, in a nutshell, that's what it takes to get a good IELTS score. Your IELTS score should match your goals, and it should match your English ability. I hope this has been helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. And again, Magoosh is here for you to help you with IELTS and just about any other exam you need for your future goals. Have a wonderful day there, Magooshers.